The Vedic literature makes reincarnation of the soul a central feature in its explanation of human destiny. And the logic is obvious when we consider a simple question like the following: why is one child born to wealthy parents in the United States while another is born to starving peasants in Ethiopia? Only the doctrine of karma and reincarnation, reward and punishment carried over many lifetimes, answers this question easily. The laws of nature and infallible justice has been compiled primarily from two sources. The first is a series of talks given on the Sri Isha Upanishad by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Delivered in Los Angeles in the spring of 1970, these talks provide an illuminating account of how the universe really operates. The second source is Srila Prabhupada's commentated translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. From the third canto of this monumental work, we here reproduce chapter 30, titled Description by Lord Kapila of Adverse Fruitive Activities. In this section, we learn the fate of sinful soul who transgresses the laws of God's nature and incurs punishment according to the law of karma. In one of his Isha Upanishad talks, Srila Prabhupada says, if you do good work, you will have so-called enjoyment in your next life, but you will remain bound up in the cycle of birth and death. And if you do bad work, then you will have to suffer the sinful reactions and also remain bound up in birth and death. But if you work for Krishna, there are no such reactions, good or bad. And at the time of death, you will return to Krishna. This is the only way to break the bonds of karma. And this is the only way for society as a whole to mitigate the sufferings mentioned earlier. While we are in this world, there is no getting rid of suffering altogether. For as the Vedic teachings recognize, this material world is by nature a place of suffering. Ultimately, we are powerless in the midst of a vast array of natural forces. The hope, therefore, is to know and follow the will of the Supreme Lord, the Master of the nature. Only in this way can we transcend the laws of nature, end the cycle of reincarnation, and attain the perfection of life. That is, love of God and a place in His kingdom. Chapter 1: God and the Law of Karma. Among the vast ancient Sanskrit writings known as the Vedas, the 108 Upanishads contain the philosophical essence, and among all the Upanishads, the Isha Upanishad is considered the foremost. In the following essay, based on talks Srila Prabhupada gave on the Isha Upanishad in 1968, we learn the truth about the Supreme Lord, the laws governing His material and spiritual energies, and how to break free of the bondage of karma. The Isha Upanishad states that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Part of the Lord's complete arrangement for this material world is His process of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Every living being in this material world has a fixed schedule of 6 changes, namely birth, growth, maintenance, depopulation of byproducts, diminution, and destruction. This is the law of material nature. A flower is born as a bird. It grows, remains fresh for 2 or 3 days, produces a seed, gradually withers, and then is finished. You cannot stop this by your so-called material science. To try to do so is avidya, ignorance. Sometimes people foolishly think that by scientific advancement, men will be immortal. This is nonsense. You cannot stop the material laws. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 14, Lord Krishna says that the material energy is duratyaya, impossible to overcome by material means. Material nature consists of three modes or gunas: Sattvaguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna, or the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Another meaning of guna is rope. Rope is made by twisting fiber in a threefold process. First, the fiber is twisted in three small strands. Then, three of them are twisted together. Then, again, three of those are twisted together. In this way, the rope becomes very strong. Similarly, the three modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are mixed, after which they produce some byproduct. Then they are mixed again and then again. Thus, they are twisted together innumerable times. In this way, the material energy binds you more and more. By your own efforts, you cannot get out of this bondage, which is known as pavarga. Pavarga is the fifth set of letters in the Sanskrit Devanagari alphabet. It contains the letters Pa, Fa, Ba, Bha, and Ma. Pa stands for Parishrama, hard labor. Every living entity in this world is struggling very hard to maintain himself and survive. This is called the hard struggle for existence. Fa stands for Fena, which is foam. When a horse works very hard, foam comes out of its mouth. Similarly, when we are tired from working very hard, our tongue may become dry and some foam forms in our mouth. Everyone is working very hard for sense gratification, so much so that foam is coming out from their mouth. Ba represents bandha, which is bondage. In spite of all our efforts, we remain bound up by the ropes of the material modes of nature. Bha stands for bhaya, which is fear. In material life, one is always in a blazing fire of fear, since no one knows what will happen next. And Ma represents Mrityu, or death. All our hopes and plans for happiness and security in this world are ended by death. So, Krishna consciousness nullifies this pavarga process. In other words, by taking to Krishna consciousness, one attains apavarga, where there is no hard struggle for existence and no material bondage, fear, or death. Pavarga symptomizes this material world, but when you add the prefix a to pavarga, that means it is nullified. Our Krishna consciousness movement is the path of apavarga. Unfortunately, people do not know of these things and therefore they're wasting their lives. This modern civilization is a soul killing civilization. People are killing themselves because they do not know what is real life. They are simply living like animals. The animal does not know what life is, so he simply works under the law of nature, undergoing gradual evolution. But when you get this human form of life, you have a responsibility to live in a different way. Here is a chance for you to become Krishna conscious and solve all problems. But you don't. If you continue to act like animals, you will again have to enter the cycle of birth and death and transmigrate through 8,400,000 species of life. It will take many, many millions of years to come back to human form of life. For example, the sunshine you are seeing now, you will not see again until after 24 hours. Everything in nature moves in a cycle. So if you lose this opportunity of elevating yourself, then again you must enter the cycle of transmigration. Nature's law is very strong. Therefore, we are opening so many centers so that people may take advantage of this international society of Krishna consciousness and elevate themselves. It is important to take to Krishna consciousness immediately because we do not know how much time is left before death. When your time in this body expires, no one can stop your death. The arrangement of material nature is so strong. You cannot say, let me remain. Actually, people sometimes request like that. When I was in Allahabad, an old friend who was very rich was dying. At that time, he begged the doctor, can you please give me at least 4 more years to live? I have some plans which I could not finish, you see. This is foolishness. Everyone thinks, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. No, neither the doctor nor the scientist can check death. Oh, no, sir, not 4 years, not even 4 minutes. You have to go immediately. This is the law. So, before that moment comes, one should be very careful to become realized in Krishna consciousness. You should realize Krishna consciousness very quickly. Before your next death comes, you must finish your business. This is intelligence. Otherwise, you will suffer defeat. The Isha Upanishad states that whatever emanates from the complete whole, the Supreme Lord, is also complete in itself. Therefore, if you want to take advantage of your life and become Krishna conscious, there is complete facility. But you have to come to the point of taking up the practice. Krishna consciousness is not theoretical, it is practical. All experiments have already been performed. So, as indicated in the Isha Upanishad, there is a complete facility for the small complete units, ourselves, to realize the supreme complete Krishna. We are complete units, but we are all small. For example, in a big machine, there is a small screw, and the perfection of that small screw is to be fitted in its proper place. Then it has value. But if it becomes unscrewed from the machine and falls down on the floor, it has no value. Similarly, we are perfect as long as we are attached to Krishna. Otherwise, we are useless. To realize the complete means to realize what our relationship with the complete is. And all forms of incompleteness are experienced only on account of incomplete knowledge of the complete. We are thinking, I am equal to God, I am God. This is incomplete knowledge. But if you know, I am part and parcel of God, and therefore I am equal to God in quality, that is complete knowledge. The human form of life is a chance to revive the complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being. You can revive this complete consciousness by the process of Krishna consciousness. But if you don't take advantage of this complete facility, you are killing yourself, committing suicide. As it is said in the Isha Upanishad, the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So don't be the killer of your soul. Utilize the complete facility of your human life to become Krishna conscious. That is your only business.